Now the latest from the ACS News team.
And hello, thank you for being there. Welcome to ACS News. I'm Rich Parker.
And I'm Hannah Negus. The headlines.
An 11-year-old girl has collapsed at a primary school in Glasgow due to a heroin overdose.
Figures published have shown an increase in dog theft. We'll take a look at the problem and the implications of it.
Hannah has a special report on higher education.
And not the crystal maze, but crystal meth. We'll find out all about it later in the programme.
First, our main story, and an 11-year-old girl has had to be taken to hospital after she collapsed in a primary school classroom in Glasgow.
It has emerged that the pupil had taken an overdose of heroin, and this has sparked concern with parents and teachers about how someone so young could have obtained this drug.
Hannah and I took a look at the incident. Now, whenever you walk down the corridor of this comprehensive school at the changeover of lessons, or break time, or lunchtime, it's not unusual to smell tobacco smoke. Even occasionally, one can smell that distinct smell of weed or cannabis. That is about as serious as drugs go. And even then, they're taken by pupils no younger than Y9, which is around about 13 or 14. So imagine if I said 11-year-old and heroin. Well, you may have drawn the connection here, as an 11-year-old pupil collapsed at a Glasgow primary school after taking an overdose of heroin.
Yes, it was in a classroom just like this one where the girl, who cannot be named for legal reasons, appeared to fall asleep. It was only after attempts were unsuccessful that they realised there was a serious problem. She would not wake up. Though the NHS said they wouldn't comment on individual cases, it is said that the girl admitted to chasing the dragon for 2 months and is undergoing medically unaided withdrawal of the drug. This is known as cold turkey.
So what was the reaction from Mothers Against Drugs, an organisation that was set up after a 13-year-old boy died from heroin? Gail McCann from the organisation said, "I'm not saying that it's a common occurrence, but it is not unheard of either. And I think that what we have to accept now is that drugs have just become part of our society. And I think what we also know is that the age that people are using drugs is getting younger and younger."
And Hugh Henry, the Scottish Deputy Justice Minister, also expressed concern, saying that everyone is shocked when they hear about such a young person's life being put at risk. This story gives further reinforcement, if any were needed, that we must keep up our broad approach to tackling drug abuse in society. That includes working to educate people through measures such as our advertising campaigns and requiring all schools to provide health education, including educating children about the dangers of drugs through the 5-14 curriculum guidelines for schools.
How would you get a girl of such a young age off of drugs? Well, were it an adult, the methadone could be prescribed, as it is a powerful pain reliever to help with withdrawal. But with a child, the body is still developing, and this drug would be the last resort, according to a spokesperson from the Royal College of GPs. Methadone is stored in the body's fat, and because a child's body is constantly changing and developing, the right dose 1 week is not the right dose next. It can therefore cause its own overdose, and add this to the fact it can rot teeth and disrupt menstrual cycles, then methadone isn't such a good drug in this instance.
So that means the girl will have to come off of heroin without the aid of medical drugs, known as cold turkey. With a case like this, doctors anticipate that withdrawal symptoms would be somewhat similar to the flu, and last for around 3 or 4 days, though this depends on the level of heroin misuse. In addition to getting the girl off the drugs, her background, emotional development, family circumstances and mental health would also be investigated, as it is incredibly rare for a child to get hooked on heroin at the age of just 11.
Drug dealers tend not to target people of this age due to police interest, so it is under question as to how the girl managed to buy drugs from this shopping centre, not to mention the crucial question, why did she take it in the first place?
It could be peer pressure, it could be down to family history. The fact is, we do not yet know. The thing for the future is to look at how instances like this can be prevented again, and one of the main things to focus on are drug education programmes.
Teaching unions say that this case is worrying for teachers as they aren't prepared for cases like this. They say that teachers are trained to cope with behaviour, but not cope with people as young as 11 taking heroin.
The unions, however, say that the drug programmes are being successful and are waiting for figures to be published looking at their effectiveness, despite the instance of drug misuse and other similar cases that have occurred. Regardless of this, the fact is that it is worrying that children as young as 11 are taking drugs like heroin, and is an issue that will be addressed in the near future to try and prevent again.
Well, joining us now to discuss the issue is teacher Sue Glasgow. Sue, thank you for joining us. For teachers who are meant to educate pupils about drugs, it's quite embarrassing, isn't it?
You could say it's embarrassing, but I would disagree.
Why would you say that?
Teachers have done their part, but you cannot blame schools for all of society's problems. Teachers and schools do play their parts, but I do think society as a whole has also got responsibility, and so have families.
Are you concerned that children as young as 11 are taking drugs?
That is really, really quite shocking. In my educational experience of several different schools, I've never heard anything like this before. However, I have been reading the newspapers recently, and perhaps in some parts of the country, perhaps it isn't that unusual. So perhaps different parts of countries need to tackle this problem in different ways.
And what can be done now to try and prevent stuff like this happening again in the future?
I think the most powerful tool is to use peer education. I think young people pay far more attention to their peers rather than the oldest. I think we need students in who perhaps have gone through drugs and have been re-educated and have overcome the problem and share their experiences with their peers. I think that is the most efficient, effective and powerful message.
Okay, so we'll leave it there. Thank you for joining us, and I'm sure you will have your opinion on this one. Don't forget you can email us astonnews@googlemail.com. Over to you, Hannah.
They say that a dog is man's best friend, and it is perhaps its loyalty which has led to a sharp increase in dog theft across the country. This then becomes very distressing for dog owners, with a lengthy process launched to try and locate the missing pet. Charlotte Hull and Laura Stanley have more on this, and it's quite a serious issue, isn't it?
Yes, it is, Hannah. At the moment we are reporting to you from Kent, which is said to be the Bermuda Triangle for dogs going missing.
Dog Watch UK has announced a total of 50,000 dogs taken across the country each year. 2,000 of them are in the southeast. Kent seems to be the worst affected area by this.
Pet owners being warned to be more vigilant after an increase in dog thefts. Experts advise not to leave dogs tied outside shops and to microchip their pets in order to help identify ones that are found.
Dog Watch says at present that Staffordshire Bull Terriers and Bull Terriers seem to be most favoured by dog thieves.
It's not just the stress of what the dog has to go through, it's also a stress for the owner. Imagine losing your little dog when that's all you have.
And now, breaking news has just come in. A dog owner was forced to hand over his pet by a man armed with a handgun.
Police said the animal was stolen while the owner was walking near Kennedy Road, Ealing, West London.
The man was approached by a hooded gunman who demanded the dog.
But there is a happy ending to this story. The pet was reunited with its owner after being spotted in a nearby street.
Animal welfare organisations said the latest report was a worrying addition to the trend of dog nappings that seems to be on the increase.
Jane Haynes, founder of a website which reunites owners with their dogs, said the thefts had gone through the roof since she set up the service.
She also said, "We have heard of dogs being taken at knife point, but never have we heard of dogs being taken at gunpoint."
Animal charity Dogs Trust advised, as I said before, to get their pets microchipped and to ensure that animals wear a collar with the owner's name and address on it.
Right, that's all from us. Now back to Tana and Richard in the studio.
Well, thank you for that, and I notice that you've not been stolen yet, Charlotte. Well, moving on. Thanks to Charlotte and Laura there. Now you may be wondering where Hannah has gone. Well, she's at the news wall with a special report on higher education. Hannah, it's over to you.
For some people, Year 11 is their last year at school, but it doesn't have to be the end. For many students, once they reach Year 11, they have a very difficult but exciting choice to make. Now is the time for them to choose their career path and have better prospects for the future. After Year 11, there is a chance to leave school and get an apprenticeship or a job, but there is also higher education. By this, I mean college or sixth form, which then progresses on to university. This will enhance your career prospects and you'll get a degree. Nowadays, most universities are a good standard and they offer a wide range of courses and degrees. Sheffield University, for example, is one of the most highly competitive universities for medicine. In your final year in compulsory education, in other words, Year 11, you'll have to consider what to do. And we'll experiencing a few technical faults, so we'll leave the special report there for now. Sorry about that.
Well, sport, as we can see, is waiting in the wings, but before all that, regardless of the technical difficulties, I'll be joining Hannah up at the news wall for a summary of the rest of the day's news. We start off with the sentencing of British historian David Irving, after he was found guilty in Vienna of denying the Holocaust of European Jews.
David Irving, who'll face a 3-year prison sentence, pleaded guilty to the charge based on a speech and interview he gave in Austria in 1989.
The public is being told not to panic over the threat of bird flu, as, according to the Defence Secretary, the government has taken all necessary measures. This comes at the time where a duck found dead in France has been confirmed having the lethal H5N1 strain of bird flu.
Council tax in England is set to increase by 4% on average this year, more than double the rate of inflation, according to a recent survey. The Local Government Association, which questioned 112 councils, found 7 out of 10 were planning to set rises of between 3.1% and 5%. The current rate of inflation is 1.9%, though the government did say that it could cap charges by some local authorities.
More than 100 people have been killed in Iraq in apparent revenge attacks after a bomb attack on one of the holiest shrines in Islam. Reports say that a gang blew up the dome of the Al-Askari shrine in Samarra in an attempt to stop the forming of a coalition government in Iraq.
By now, most people have heard about crystal meth, also known as ice, Nazi crank or tina, being manufactured in chemical labs all over South Asia and America. But not many people have heard about the recent cases of possession of the drug in the London gay nightclub scene. The drug is made by combining household cleaning agents with chemicals commonly found in children's play chemistry sets. These substances combined produce a very toxic and volatile drug. In the USA, over 800 labs are successfully raided each year, half of which are in California alone. UK authorities constantly consider meth to be a Class B drug, but it is now under deliberation as to whether it should be made a Class A. The main concerns about its manufacturing are that it is a highly volatile substance and has already caused disastrous explosion in America. The other main concern being that any contact, whether it be from surfaces or fumes in the air, has caused children to react adversely to it. Observing children at play, many researchers are concerned they may pick up residue from the manufacturing of meth simply by crawling on furniture or across carpets. So whilst Canada consider the manufacturing of the drug to be a crime punishable by a life sentence, we still allow it to be taken in the streets around our children with an average penalty of 5 years.
It has been confirmed that over £53 million was stolen from the Securitas depot in Tunbridge, Kent, after the biggest ever cash robbery in Britain. Assistant Chief Constable of the Kent Police Force, Adrian Leppard, said that a further 5 men had been arrested in addition to the 6 people already released on bail.
The Assistant Chief Constable also said that 4 of them were still being questioned, with officers granted an extra 26 hours to hold and question 2 of them. In addition to this, the 5th man to be arrested had been released on bail, and a further 10 search warrants had taken place.
Now a look at the business news. An oil company, Shell, has announced the highest profits for a UK company of £13 billion. And then, just a week later, oil company BP announced their personal record-breaking profits of £11 billion. I took a look at how both companies got them and the implications of having such high profits. Most all of us have either driven or been a passenger in one of these, or something similar, in the past year. And for those paying for the fuel, they've noticed that the price of it has sharply increased over the past year, which is why this company have received record profits for any UK company. In early February, the Anglo-Dutch oil company announced profits of $22.94 billion. That's £13.12 billion. This beating the previous record of $17.59 billion set last year by the same company. You may be wondering why the company has received such high profits. Well, it all comes back to the increasing price of oil. This time last year, a barrel of crude oil cost just under $45 a barrel. Now it is over $70. But why an increase? Well, it's down to a number of factors, including trouble in the east with oil supplies and increasing fears over global warming, not to mention disruption in the Gulf of Mexico because of hurricanes. So one would think with profits of £13 billion, you wouldn't be paying for this for a litre of unleaded. The reason why the prices are still high is because of the cost of a barrel of oil, and it's not the profits of the petrol stations or the oil company that's guzzling away at your 90p a litre. It's in fact the government, which take away the majority of the money in tax. As if these profits weren't record-breaking enough, Shell have announced a net fourth quarter profit of $5.395 billion. This was the reaction from Shell. Our good performance in the fourth quarter of 2005 gives us a solid platform to build on in 2006, said the Chief Executive, Jeroen van der Veer. We delivered record cash and earnings. Success in exploration and gaining access to new resources continues. And just a week later, petrol company BP announced their record-breaking profits. With a 26% increase on the previous year, BP's profits were at $19.31 billion, which is £11.04 billion. And why did they get such high profits when Shell got record-breaking profits as well? Speaking to the BBC, BP Chief Executive Lord Brown said the company's profits had been magnified enormously by the high price of oil, high refining margins, and high gas prices. We of course first of all make most of our money in what I think most people would regard as the wholesale market, he said. That is, the production of oil and gas, not in the refining and sales of petrol, and so forth. Lord Brown also said that profits didn't stay in the company but were reinvested or given to shareholders, which, as Lord Brown says, are basically the pension funds of the United Kingdom. However, Tony Woodley, General Secretary of the Transport and General Workers Union, said, with BP's multi-billion profits based on rocketing oil prices, there should be no doubt the oil companies have profited whilst our pensioners have suffered. If there is any justice in this world, then a part of those excess profits should go towards helping those whose pensions have been robbed. Environmentalists have also sparked concerns with these profits, saying that with such money raised, companies can afford to invest in alternative energy sources. That's what Shell are pushing for this year, but the thing to bear in mind is that if there is so much money to be made in the oil market, why would companies bother changing to other energy sources? And whilst ever there is a market for oil, profits like these are still going to be made by oil companies, so it is unlikely that they will change for greener energy sources. It is also this market which forces global oil prices so high. Therefore, we are unlikely to see a drop in petrol prices, that is, unless the price of a barrel of oil drops. And with the current state of world politics, including the trouble in the Middle East and the climate change, that is something which is very unlikely to happen. Richard Atkin, ACS News.
Now with the sport, here's Ryan Kenyon, who's talking a load of balls.
Only football, Richard. England won 2-1 against Uruguay recently. Joe Cole struck a last gasp winner as England came from behind to beat Uruguay at Anfield. England went behind after an amazing 30-yard volley from Omar Posu. England had many close chances, including one from captain David Beckham and another from Chelsea captain John Terry, before substitute Peter Crouch headed home a cross from Joe Cole to give the equaliser. Then, in the last minute of the game, Sean Wright-Phillips crossed the ball, giving Joe Cole a perfect chance for a goal, which he took by tapping the ball just over the keeper's head and into the back of the net. Scotland lost 3-1 against Switzerland. Scotland failed to end a 10-year wait for a victory in the friendly at Hampton Park. They were beaten by goals from Tranquillo Barnetta, Daniel Gygax and Ricardo Cabanas. Scotland did get a goal from Kenny Miller, but it was an easy victory for Switzerland. The Republic of Ireland won 3-0 against Sweden. Steve Staunton started his reign in charge of the Republic with an impressive victory in last night's friendly at Longstone Road. They were put in front after 36 minutes by a deflected shot from Damien Duff, which found its way into the bottom corner of the goal. The lead was then doubled by a volley from Robbie Keane. The final goal came in the 71st minute when Liam Miller slotted the ball past the Swedish keeper. Italy thumped World Cup host Germany 4-1 in a surprising one-sided friendly in Lawrence. Goals came from Alberto Gilardino, Luca Toni, Daniele De Rossi and Alessandro Del Piero for Italy, and a late consolation goal for Germany came from Robert Huth.
Ryan, thank you for that, and now it's time to take a look at what's going on in the world of entertainment.
Well, it was the Oscars in LA this week, and what a night it was. All of Hollywood's finest and a fair few of Britain's best turned up for the glamorous event, and all the awards were well deserved. No surprises in two of the main categories, with Best Actor going to Philip Seymour Hoffman for Capote and Best Actress to Reese Witherspoon for Walk the Line. Best Director went to Ang Lee for the controversial Brokeback Mountain, which also scooped 2 other awards. The surprise of the night was certainly Best Picture, which, despite a long list of contenders, went to Crash. In music, it really is Chico time, with the cheeky Once X Factor contestant at #1 in the singles charts. And our very own Arctic Monkeys are making an imprint in the album charts with Whatever People Say I Am, That's What I'm Not. The Sheffield band, who are still celebrating their 3-award clean-up at the NMEs, spent 4 weeks at #1, but now sit at a very respectable #3. Not bad for a bunch of Steel City boys. I'm Megan Broadhurst, over to Josh for local entertainment.
Thank you, Megan. And now we're looking at what's entertaining you in your local area. Today I'm going to be discussing a recent play that was on at the Octagon Theatre in Bolton. But was it the play that was the highlight of the night? The play, A View from a Bridge, was surprisingly exciting. After reading the book, my expectations for the play were bleak. However, on the night, from start to finish, the play had me riveted. The acting by most actors was amazingly realistic. My favourite actor on the night, however, had to be Freya Copeland, who previously played Angie Reynolds in Emmerdale. She was playing the character of Bea, a woman who struggles to keep her family together. Her New York accent never faltered, which led me to question if she really was from England. On the night, however, there was more than just a celebrity cast that created a huge buzz of excitement, which put the sugar and fizz back into the rather dull and overpriced sweets at the interval. The most looked and sought after celebrity on the night had to be Anthony Cotton, who plays Coronation Street's humorous, rather feminine Sean. On the night, the performance was amazing. I would definitely recommend it.
Thanks to Megan and Josh for the entertainment, and we saw that it was raining as ever for the BAFTA Awards ceremony, but it's going to be dry, isn't it, Tabitha?
Well, there's a bit of a cloudy start to the morning, but most of us should see some sun just trying to come through. There's a definite split between the west and the east today, with western parts having the worst of the weather, and some heavy showers. It's not looking too good up north either, I'm afraid, but the east of Scotland should have a bit more luck. Luckily for us, across Yorkshire it should stay dry though, with just a chance of rain throughout the Midlands. If we look at the satellite picture, we can see there's a band of low pressure coming in from the southwest that could be causing all that rain. It might also be causing a bit of wind, particularly in the southern parts, as it sweeps in from the west, bringing with it some blustery showers. Overall temperatures are much milder than they have been, reaching around 10 or 11 degrees Celsius. A look at tomorrow's forecast then. For most of the UK, it should stay dry, with just a chance of rain in the northeast of Scotland. It'll be quite misty though across parts of the Midlands, so watch out for that. There's a chance of some showers in southern parts, but it should stay dry for the rest of us. Temperatures a little lower than today, around 7 or 8 degrees Celsius across Yorkshire and the Midlands, dropping to a cooler 6 degrees further north. So to summarise, today should be dry and sunny for the east, with blustery showers for the west, but feeling much milder. Tomorrow should stay dry for most of it, with just a bit of cloud still hanging around. That's the forecast.
Well, that brings us almost to the end of today's programme, but first let's take a final look at the headlines.
Our main story is that an 11-year-old girl has had to be taken to a Glasgow hospital after she collapsed from taking an overdose of heroin.
Reports out suggest an increase in dog theft across Britain.
British historian David Irving will face a 3-year prison sentence after he was found guilty in Vienna of denying the Holocaust of European Jews.
And in business, oil companies Shell and BP coming out record-breaking profits for 2005.
That's it from us today, and don't forget you can email us about the programme by sending your messages to astonnews@googlemail.com.
So, thank you for being there today. And from me, Richard Atkin.
And me, Hannah Megas.
And of course, the rest of the team.
Goodbye.